Boom. We are recording. And welcome to agreement session number 4. So happy everybody's here. Looks like we're supposed to wear blue today. 3 out of 4 are in blue. 3 out of 5 are in blue.
Yeah.
So here's we're going to do something different today for the check-in. What I'd like to do is have each of you tell us something that you've learned from your buddy so far in this program. And when you're complete, just say that you're present for our session for us to start this evening. So tell us something that you've learned from your buddy so far during this program. And who would like to start? Noelle.
Can I clarify quick?
Sure.
So are we saying what we learned about her or from her?
From her.
From her.
Something you learned from your buddy. Noelle, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I've learned from Carrie about what a tenacious soul I've come to know. What a tenacious soul can look like. Mm-hmm. Because of all the, I read her book, and I recommend everyone to read it, particularly if you're going to be her buddy, because you'll learn how she persevered through really kind of a hell on earth to be where she is right now. And so I learned that I have a lot more respect and honor what she taught me about what a resilient soul can do and be. I'm complete. I'm present.
Thank you. Who would like to go next?
Well, I learned from my buddy Pam how to step back and look at things from a different perspective, even when you're kind of used to looking at something the same way and realizing that you have to go back and look at it a different way. And I think that was a good lesson that she taught me.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm complete. I'm present and complete.
Present and complete. Thank you.
I'll go next. I learned from my buddy what a friend looks like. I don't think I've ever really had an honest friend, and I really appreciate her honesty and her openness and her willingness to just accept me as I am. And all of you who are going to have her will have a treat.
Thank you, Carrie. And you're present for this evening?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think I got it.
Thank you.
One of the things of the many that I've learned from Barb is really to recognize the choice that we have. We have choices, and the choices that we have can really set us free. So I really enjoyed talking with Barb. And, our 10, 15-minute phone calls ended up always, an hour. That's how much I enjoyed it.
Me too.
I'm present.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pam. Thank all of you. This is part of the special treat of doing this. As we all know, we can sit down and read the book ourselves, but this is one of the joys. And we're going to spend more time this evening also learning from one another about this agreement. Agreement number 4. Then what works and change what doesn't. But first we have to recite all 12 of the agreements. So who would like to speak the first agreement tonight? And then we'll just go around and jump in popcorn style to make sure we cover all 12 of them. So who would like to speak the first agreement today?
I will.
Okay.
I agree to live my mission, which is to help others find their path and their true purpose in life.
Beautiful.
I agree to speak my truth with compassion.
I agree to look within when I react.
I agree to keep doing what works and change what doesn't.
I agree to listen with my heart.
I agree to respect our differences.
I agree to resolve conflicts directly.
I agree to honor our choices.
I agree to give and receive thanks.
I agree to see the best in myself and others.
I agree to look for blessings in disguise.
I agree to lighten up.
Okay.
I
Wonderful.
missed some. I'm sorry. I had somebody ring my doorbell.
All right. Well, thank you, Carrie. And we are lightening up. So the objective of today's session will be attained when you have completed your assignment, the assignment that we're going to spend our time on this evening. It's going to be very different from the first three agreements. After completing your assignment for this session, you will have laid the track to change at least one of the things that is not working in your life. So the fourth agreement is to keep doing what works and change what doesn't. While this agreement is easy to understand, I think, it's not always easy to change what doesn't work. Either because frankly, we kind of get a satisfaction from playing the role of victim sometimes, and thus we don't want to make a change, or perhaps because we're actually stuck in patterns which is difficult to free ourselves from. So I'd like to share with you how this agreement has played out in my life. And it's really a simple example, but it shows, I think, the range of keep doing what and change what doesn't can be everything from relationships and marriage and jobs and where you live, all the way down to the most simplest of things that we are doing that aren't really serving us that we might want to change or think of differently. So I mentioned before, I think, I'm pretty sure I mentioned before, that one of my issues is about control over the decades. One of my issues has been about control. And so a lesson I learned about doing what works and changing what doesn't was actually when we bought the RV in 2010. And I had never driven anything so big in my life. I might have driven, well, I've driven a truck that big because I drove a fuel truck on an airport before, but I'd never driven something where there was 60 feet of stuff behind me that weighed 7 tons. And then dealt with that on public roads, streets, alleyways, driveways, parking lots, etc. And one of the things that I was really stressed by it. And for the first couple of thousand miles, I'm sure it was evident that I was trying to control things. When in traffic situations, you get to control some things, but you don't get to control others. You have to adapt to that. And what I saw happening over the course of time was that it was easier and easier for me to put myself in a place where I could be at peace driving this big rig, or backing it up, or parking it into an RV site, or backing it into the front valet parking of the Westin at the LAX airport, or wherever that might be. And I recognize that there are tractor trailers that are in all of those spaces that felt tight to me or concerned about making a turn off of a city street onto another city street. But tractor trailers do that all the time when they come and move people from one of the houses on that street. So I started having a different way of thinking that this is a tractor trailer and I need to respect the weight that it is, braking abilities, how fast I can speed up, that sort of thing. But I also need to not be worrying myself about the fact that it won't fit in a particular place, because I can just scan what's in front of me and say, a tractor trailer's been there before, so I can do this. And it gave me a lot of peace, and it made it possible for me to drop away. Actually, after a while, it made it so that when I would back into a site, an RV campground site and whatnot, I would get a special reward that I would hear this. That was easy. When Noel graded my backing up job to be adequate. So
Somebody
again,
had to do it.
a simple example, but one that for me, every time we go out on the road, I just remember that and remember how uptight I was in the early days about it. Not that I'm lackadaisical about it now, because it's a big responsibility, but I realized that it was a matter of changing my mind, changing my behavior, and taking action and being at peace with that. Again, this is all about inner peace. So let's talk about some of the things that you'd like to share. As a result of your end of the chapter focus on the day exercise, what did you become aware of that you want to change? And, you know, we're just going to let this be those of you that want to share anything at this point, because we're going to do some exercises later. But anybody would like to share something that because of doing that end of chapter exercise you became aware of, and in fact you do want to change? Anyone?
Okay, I'll go. I had thought that I changed just about everything that I needed to change. Of course. I was in one place 4 years ago, and in the past 4 years, my life has just been change after change after change after change. So I'm thinking that I've already done this, which of course happens with all of these agreements so far. It has happened. Yeah, that's true, and that's good, and I do it, and well, maybe I don't really do it. So I was having a hard time coming up with something for this, and then I realized my emails are just a mess. And, you know, somebody asked me today, well, did you get this? Did you ever get back to that woman? And I'm like, you know, I don't know. My emails, there's so many of them, I can't sort through them. Who would it have come from? I don't really know. And I realized, yeah, that is a big thing for me, because although that may not seem like a big deal, in this world today, if you're not keeping in touch with the people you have to keep in touch with, it's a big problem. And I can't just keep saying, well, I'm not dealing with it. I'm letting it go. So I realized that I have to make I don't know if it's going to be a small change to do this, because I'm so backed up. I have to go through and unsubscribe from tons and tons of people, or maybe I just need to start over on a new email address. I'm not sure which to do. But that's my consideration, and I think that it's maybe very egotistical of me to have thought that I didn't have anything I needed to change, and realizing that once I get through with this, I'll probably think I have a couple others, but I didn't really have too many, just because I have gone through so many changes. But I'm sure there's always something out there.
Wonderful. And yeah, I think all of us probably get to the point where we say, well, I don't think there's that many more things I need to change. You think even Marion in her book said, like her 6th or 7th of her 10 was, I'm having a hard time coming up with more than I need to change. But if you asked her the question today, she'd be able to sit down and write 5 of them, just like that, as any of us could.
And I think that maybe that changes all the time, as probably all of these things do, as you're in a different situation and you just, you know, have to go with the flow.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else want to share something they discovered during that exercise?
I can.
Sure.
I know it sounds like a little trivial thing, but so my quiet time, or my time that I can go through paperwork or read or whatever, is usually after Ben gets settled down and I can relax, right? So I tend to collect stuff next to my bed where I sit. And but what happens is then I have this collection of, you know, papers I needed to read from Ben, or my own stuff, or something I wanted to look through, and I got stuff and stuff and stuff, and I go to bed with this stuff around me. And again, I know it sounds kind of stupid, but our bed faces our closet, which has too much stuff in it, closed. Like and I'm working on it, getting rid of. But those doors are always open. And so I go to bed at night with stuff next to me, and I'm staring at stuff because that's how my bed is. And I decided, you know what? Then I wake up and it's all there again. And so for me, I'm like, I'm going to close my closet doors so I don't have that stuff clutter in my head. And I'm going to just keep on maintaining that stuff that's next to my next to my bed, with my, the one thing I want to read, and my glass of water, and, without having clutter there. It just makes a difference for me to go to bed more, I don't know, free of clutter than have to wake up to it again. There's a lot of clutter that I'm getting rid of. And it's been a slow process, but a lot of stuff going on. So.
Good for you. And not a small thing. Noelle and I, with Barbara 1.0, we did almost an entire class on letting go of things and the representation of letting go of physical things, what that does, and decluttering and putting that out. She would say, we took TV out of our bedroom after we went through that part of our life when we were with her. These aren't small things. It's something that's not working in your life that you're choosing to change. It's not small. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go. So what is something I want to change? That's the question.
Yeah, from the exercise. Yeah, there's something you've discovered in your life that you'd like to change.
Well, of course, there's a big list. And of course, at the top of it is diet and exercise. And but even above that one is a spiritual practice. Really taking the time to, I go to a lot of different things, and they ask me, and what's your spiritual practice? I'll go like, I don't know, be a good person. But, I think
that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with being a good person. That's lovely.
I do my best. But I think what it is like having that time, because all the answers are within. But how much time do I give myself every day to seriously devote to going within? And so that's what I think I would like to change, because I think that's fundamental to all the other changes. And so that's where I would say, something I'd like to change. And then sometimes I'll do it and then I'll drop off, and I'll do it and I'll drop off. And it doesn't necessarily mean meditation. I'm not some people meditate and they go into the different atmospheres and realities and stuff. I'm bliss and ecstasy. I'm going like, yeah, not me. But, I guess it would be just more within time. So I'm complete.
Thank you. Terry, was there anything that you discovered during the exercise that you changed in your life?
Of the 10 things that aren't working, I have 4, and the last one's finishing the 10 things that aren't working. I guess the biggest one for me right now is my inability to let go of the outer world and to embrace the inner world and to give power to what I know is good and best for everything and everyone, and stop giving power to what I'm angry about, what I wish wouldn't happen, what I don't want to see, because all I'm doing is energizing that in the outer world, which is, where we all live. And I have to let go of that, and it's hard, because like today, when he signed his little thing on getting rid of everything to do with, pollution and environment and so on. And for the first hour or two after I read that, I was just churning inside. I was just so angry and so filled with, I don't know. I was just really angry. And the truth is, I can't change that, what he did. But I can change my viewpoint of it. I can change my perspective of it. And I can also change my perspective on not only what appears to be, but what really is. And what really is not out there. It's in here. And that's the hard part, is getting from out there to in here and embracing that. And I'm sure that that's going to help me a lot as I work on that, to get over this fear and the anger, because another one is my tendency to lapse into PTSD when I'm overwhelmed. And I don't like that either, because it gets in my way of functioning. It gets in my way of interacting with people and so forth. And I get crazy. I mean, really crazy. And I really have to be vigilant about that. I really have to keep my mind on the fact that I have a choice. And this is the hard part, because when you feel something like that coming on you, and I remember when I used to I'd go into anxiety attacks and I couldn't breathe and my stomach was so tight, it was just painful, and it felt like my heart was going to beat out of my chest, and I was just so intense, you know, and one of my teachers says, "Do you realize you have a choice?" And I said, "No, it's just coming at me. What can I do about that?" And she says, "You need to change your perspective about what's coming at you, because what's coming at you is not you. What you are is what you decide to be. What's coming at you can make you decide to be something you don't want to be, or you can decide to be other than what you would be if you embraced it." So I really have to work on that. It's hard sometimes, but you know, that's the first thing I work on. And the second thing is looking inward, to know that when I see the world as a perfect place, when I see the human race as a perfect conglomeration of life that's all part of the universe, that we're all God being who we are today in a body, you know, that we're all connected, everything's connected, and that connection is going to win no matter what anybody else does. And when I can embrace that, when I can hold that vision, then the PTSD doesn't hit me so hard. And even sometimes it doesn't hit me at all. Like today, I thought I was going to really lose it. But then I said, you know, I'm letting this overwhelm me. I'm allowing it to overwhelm me. And as long as I'm allowing it to overwhelm me, it will. Because that's the easy part, because I've been doing it all my life. So it's real easy for me to slip into the overwhelm. But it's a lot more difficult to say, I choose not to, and then to stand by that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Like I said, easy to say, easy to understand, but oftentimes a huge challenge. So we're going to do, as I said, we're going to do something different tonight than the prior 3 nights. We're actually going to go to the movies tonight. We're going to watch some movie clips, a triple feature, as a matter of fact. What we're actually going to do is we're going to test my technical abilities using Zoom, is what we're really going to do. Because we're going to watch some video clips that'll help us to understand how to change things that don't work. The first clip is from the movie What the Blip, which shows us what happens biologically when we repeat the same thought and the same actions. Who has seen What the Blip?
What the bleep?
What the bleep? Did I say blip? What the bleep? What the bleep?
Yeah.
This segment will bring back the power of the mind in creating our actual reality. And the second video, which will build on that, on the first one, so I'm going to show it immediately after that one, and then we'll pause after the second video and have a chance for questions and a little conversation before going on to the third one. So here goes the test to see if I can pull off having, which if I do, I'm going to keep doing it this way, and if I don't, I'm going to change.
There you go.
There we go. Share screen. Share screen. Punch this. And do this. And here we go.
Who is in the driver's seat when we control our emotions or we respond to our emotions? We know physiologically that nerve cells that fire together wire together. If you practice something over and over again, those nerve cells have a long-term relationship. If you get angry on a daily basis, if if you get frustrated on a daily basis, if you suffer on a daily basis, if you give reasons for the victimization in your life, you're rewiring and reintegrating that neural net on a daily basis, and that neural net now has a long-term relationship with all those other nerve cells called an identity. We also know that nerve cells that don't fire together no longer wire together. They lose their long-term relationship because every time we interrupt the thought process that produces a chemical response in the body, every time we interrupt it, those nerve cells that are connected to each other start breaking the long-term relationship.
Okay, and here's the second one.
As for every single one of us, learning something new means rearranging the way her brain works. Our brain has an astonishing 100 billion neurons, or brain cells, all connected together. Learning is about creating and strengthening pathways through these neurons for impulses of electricity. But between each and every connection in our brains, there's a tiny gap called a synapse. For any of us to learn something new, the electrical signal has to jump across this gap to continue its journey. The gap between the two brain cells is tiny, but that doesn't mean it's straightforward for a signal to get from one side to the other. For us, it's like crossing a deep ravine. And getting from one side to the other should tell us something about the way we learn. The first time a signal crosses from one brain cell to the other demands the most effort, and it's the same when we cross our ravine. The first trip across is the hardest. Having crossed the ravine once, the journeys across get easier and easier. And a similar thing happens when we learn something. To start with, learning is difficult. As the signal crosses the gap between the brain cells again and again, we establish a more solid pathway.
Sorry about that.
By the time we've made the crossing over and over again, it becomes effortless. We can do it whenever we like. We finally learned something.
So, let's see. Is this volume okay? Because I turned the volume up for that. My volume okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting study because here we are talking about the biology of the tracks in our mind, the neurological tracks and whatnot. And we've got somebody with a PhD on the phone that studied brain science and whatnot. And she and I are both watching Grey's Anatomy and all the brain surgery now. So this seems like just the right time to be having this conversation. So before we move on to the third video, do you have any questions or comments about what you just saw about this neural pathway? If you haven't heard Joe Dispenza, who was the first video, speak before or read any of his books or watched his videos, highly recommend him. as someone who can help you understand the science of this and much more about how it affects your life. But are there any questions or comments?
I just would like to get access to that, find where you have that, because that's kind of eye-opening for me, particularly with Benjamin's, how Ben learns.
Right, right. Wonderful. Yeah, I'll send something in the follow-up email for Connections for Joe Dispenza. He's written an amazing number of books. We've seen him in many clips and many things, and finally got to see him in person for a half-day workshop about a year ago. Any other questions or comments about this? One of the things that reminds me of just this very elementary explanation about the neural pathways and whatnot is the little bit of study that I did on an online course at Hopkins to better understand my mom's condition and what dementia and Alzheimer's is, and the separation of these pathways. Not whether, without saying why it's happening, what is happening, and how that affects someone's conduct, memory, and anything else. Any other questions or comments about those two videos? Okay.
I do need you to turn the volume up just a little.
You should turn the volume on the video.
No, you.
I can't turn me up other than to get closer, which I can, or I'll put on a headset. I will while you watch the next video, but you should be able to turn off your speakers, which would raise everybody, including the video for you. But I'll put on a headset while we're watching.
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, but go ahead and do whatever you got to do.
Okay.
If others are having trouble.
All righty. So let's look at the next video, and then we can chat about that. This is about laying a new track. Oops, share. Screen share. Got it. Go. There she is. Okay, so thanks for that. Is there, are there any questions or about what you just saw, about laying a new track? How to do that? Very simple explanation about how to accomplish that.
This is one of the things I had to do in order to overcome my disability. I had to literally lay a new track. And the person who helped me do it, you know, said, look at what you're doing, write down what you're doing, and bring it to me next week. and I will help you get through this. So I did that and brought it to him that week. And I said, okay, now what do I do? And he says, stop doing it. And I said, I don't know that I can. He said, you know what you're doing. Don't do it. Just make an effort to not do it. And the more you make the effort, the less you will do it until you have found yourself in a space where you no longer do it, which I did in about 3 months. It took about that long for me to get through it. But I mean, it revolutionized my life. You know, I had had this disorder all of my life, and now I have to learn how to be just me. And that's hard. That's really hard. But, you know, every day I do it, I build a new pathway. So it's the same thing in reverse. I'm building new pathways instead of going back to the old ones.
Wonderful. Thanks. Thanks for sharing, Carrie. Yeah, many people, teachers tell us that new habit takes a while. And when you know, whether it's a spiritual practice or whether it's working, you know, unsubscribing to every email every day that comes in that you really don't have need in your life anymore. Habits take a while to settle in, to be a part of what you're doing. Any other thoughts? And then we'll go on to an exercise.
Well, I just want to say something about what Carrie was saying. And I think what it was is to say she was bringing whatever the behavior was to a conscious level. And then that's when you can deal with it. Because like I can see with food and stuff like that, I'm just, okay, I'm not going to have any bread today. And then I can find myself with bread in my mouth going, holy shit, I thought I said I wasn't going to have any bread today. I completely unconscious. And that's what I've always resisted, that Oprah said, write down everything you put in your mouth. And so I think what she's doing is saying, bring it up to that conscious level so you can look at it and twirl it around and see, you know, then you can stop it. Just to say stop it reminds me of that Bob Newhart skit, Stop It. And just saying stop it, I don't think I can stop it. I think it has to be, you have to go deeper than that. Why am I doing this? What am I getting out of this behavior? I mean, it helps me examine it. What am I getting out of this behavior that I keep repeating it? There's got to be something there at some point for it to be rewarding enough for me to want to repeat it. So I think I've got to go deeper.
And it would say, I'm sorry, are you complete?
I'm complete.
That's wonderful. And, you know, you kind of realize, first thing that came to my mind is I'd fall right in that thought pattern that you have. I'd fall right back onto the last agreement of to look within when I react, to, you know, how I'm reacting to, oh my God, what's in my mouth now? What's in my hand now? And so again, all the agreements are all holding hands with each other.
I mean, look within literally. Oh my God, it's a bagel.
Close your mouth when you chew. Oh my. Okay, well, let's go back to we'll look out the window for a while.
Sorry,
We'll look out the window for a while. Let's focus. Let's go back to your focus on today exercise, and take that list of what's working and what's not working. And so open up. If you don't have that list in front of you, a couple of you referred to it, so I know it's right there. Choose one of the items that is on your not working list that you'd like to resolve by changing your mind about laying a new track, and either circle or underline that one. This could be the same item that you spoke about earlier. It could be a different one, but whatever. And if we had a larger group, we would break up into groups of 3 or 4 and really test my ability to use Zoom and breakout sessions. But you are 3 or 4, so this is it. I'm just going to sit back and watch this breakout room of the 4 of you do this. And what I'd like to do is have you talk about that. Each of you are going to have time to talk about this. I'll call you back, and each of you should have 3 minutes. And maybe it would be good if I use the timer and let you know to wrap up for each of you, so you each have time to do this, to explore the new pathways to change what's not working. And then when I call you back, you'll have, I'll just mention to you, try to wrap up, you'll have 15 seconds left. So I'll let you know when it's been 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And so what you're going to do in the breakout room is you're going to talk with the others about what that one thing that you want to change is. And when you're doing that, before your 3 minutes is up, share what you believe is a very first step of something you could do to make a change about this. Whatever you circled just now may be something big, quote big, or quote small, but what is the one step you could take today or by this time tomorrow that would be the first step on the way to changing this item that's not working for you? So you all just go ahead and do your thing. I'm going to start the timer, and I'm going to let you, whoever wants to go first, and I'm going to let you know when it's about 2 minutes and 45 seconds to wrap up so the next person can go. And then we'll go another 3 minutes, each of the three of you. You'll only hear from me when it's time for you to switch. Okay, you're in the breakout room. Do it.
Okay, so we're all going to be in the same breakout room. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
So we just start talking.
Correct. And whoever starts talking, I'm timing you for 3 minutes.
All right. I'll start talking.
Go, Pam.
Okay, so I happen to choose like my biggest thing that I want to change, because I've been working on it for so long and haven't made forward movement on it. But I want to stop caring about what other people think more than what I think. Like everything that I do is about, I better not do that because what will they think? Or I don't, I don't know. Everything is about what other people think. And I keep on calling it borrowed value. Like what you think about me is more important than what I think. And so like, I want to stop doing that. And I've been wanting to stop doing that for years because it keeps me imprisoned. It's a choice, like Barb says, it's a choice. But how do you stop it? How do you stop your mind from going there? So I guess the one thing I can do about that is to say, what do I think? Is this supposed to be you give me ideas, or I just keep on talking till my 3 minutes?
I don't know. Is it supposed to be a conversation, or is it supposed to be one person talking at a time?
It can certainly be a conversation if the person that's speaking is inviting that.
Okay. All right. So Pam, so you're right. You have to have what you think about what you're doing be the most important thing. So if you ask yourself, well, how do I feel about myself when I do this? And if you feel good about it, then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks anyway, because you are most important to yourself. But if you bring that into the forefront and say, how do I feel about this? That might help.
It's like one of those things where I decided that I'm changing my house. That's not, I mean, I guess it can be on my list, but I decided that my home should reflect what makes me happy and the things that are around it, so that when I walked in the back door, it's not about, man, is that what people would expect to see from a financial advisor? Or is it something that makes me happy and I feel good about? So I started doing this Pinterest board the last couple of days. I've been thinking about this. Well, it's actually been more than a couple of days, but, and I started thinking about what makes me happy. And I live out in the country. I live out in Redneckville, I call it. and But I want a beach. I love the ocean. I love everything about the ocean. It's my happy place. When I'm stressed, that's where I think about. I want to be able to look around my house and see things that make me feel happy. You know, whether it's, you know, seagrass on top of a shell or whatever. So, but then I get into that business with, well, I don't know what looks good. I wonder what people will think will look good. You know, what color should that be? Or should I, you know, it's all stupid stuff. And it's like, why can't I just make a decision about what I like instead of bringing in everything else? Like my confidence in myself of, well, I'm not good at that. I'm not a good decorator. I really don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm going to have to interrupt you now because I haven't been to your home, but I've been to your office. And she does really, really nice things. It's a very warm and comfortable place. So I'm just going to have to call you on it that you are a good decorator. It just feels very wonderful there. The other thing is that I'm wondering whether it reflects down to deeper issues about self-worth, that your opinion isn't as valuable as somebody else's because you don't have a good self-worth about yourself. I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm just saying is that it says to me that we're kind of on the surface here, whereas, you know, maybe diving deeper about why would you value somebody else's, you know, living room more than yours? Does it have something to do with the worthiness kind of issue? Self-love.
And I guess that goes back to living my mission. Like my mission is to be well with my soul, and I'm not. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to. I don't know how to fix that.
Maybe there's nothing to be fixed about you. Maybe it's just to love you.
So I'd like to invite Pam. I'd like to invite you to hold that, and and so someone else has an opportunity to share something that's not working in their life. You've really shared a lot there, and it's important for you to process. And one of the things that we're looking for, and you'll have more time to do that with your buddy coming up in the next couple of days, so please hold on to that. So when the next person shares, be sure and see if you can find something that you can declare for yourself that is a small step that you can take in the next 24 hours that would lead you toward changing this thing that's not working for you. So who would like to go next? Thank you, Pam.
I'll go next. I need to exercise daily, and whether it's just going for a walk or whatever, I've gotten to the point where I fit it in about 3 times a week, different things. I know that I will feel better when I do it, and it will help me with a lot of other things along the way. So I just realized the way I can do this is to wake up earlier. And that's not a pleasant thing to do, but you know, if I just give myself 45 more minutes in the morning, and if that means, you know, backing that up, if that means going to bed earlier at night, or, you know, maybe the first night I don't have to, and it'll catch up. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow I'm going to get up 45 minutes earlier, and I'm going to, after my meditation and Reiki, I'm going to exercise. And I feel so spoiled that I'm able to do this. I mean, if I'm lucky enough to have the time to do this, I must do it because it's going to make me better all around. So that's what I'm going to do. And
Go, girl.
do I have to fill up the 3 minutes, or is that okay?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
That's an amazing declaration, and I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, go to bed early tonight, and get up early in the morning because you inspired me. Thank you.
Okay.
Who's next?
I guess I'll go next. I guess, you know, in allowing myself to become perturbed about what's going on out there. That's my big thing. And I've always been very socially oriented. I've always had a deep compassion for the people of the planet Earth. I don't know why, I just always have. I remember when I was a young girl watching a television show on the news, sort of like 60 Minutes, only it hadn't come there yet. I mean, it was a lot earlier than 60 Minutes started. So, but it was about young people in Los Angeles going down on the Strip and winding up becoming, you know, used by other people and abused and so forth, and getting into drugs and becoming, you know, prostitutes and so forth. And I remember sitting watching that and just crying for these people. I've always been like that. So I have this, I don't know, deep connection to people, to humanity. And it just hurts me to see what's going on. I just feel so angry about it. Here I am displaying that again. And I'm not sure exactly how to shift that, but I do know that there have always been things that I've been able to say, things that I've been able to repeat as sort of like memes or sayings. Like one that I used to repeat when I was always worried about what other people thought about me was, every time I'd start thinking about what other people thought about me, I'd say to myself, what other people think about me is none of my business. What my business is what I think about me. So that's how I got out of that trap. This is different because I don't know what kind of a meme to generate for myself, other than I know that everything is perfect, just as it is, even though it doesn't look like it, even though it appears to be damaged or broken. I know that it's truly perfect. And if I can say everything is truly perfect in every way, and all I have to do is hold that picture that everything is perfect, that not only will I stop that cycle in myself, but I will be lending energy to building that perfection in the world. And that's something that I know is true. I know that every thought we think contributes to what's going on in the world. Every time that we get involved in talking about what's bad or what's wrong, we're emphasizing it. We're energizing it. We're giving it space in our life. And as long as we do that, it takes space in our life. So if I want to give something space in my life, I think that the best thing I can do is to give peace and joy and the perfection of humanity space in my life. And whenever I get off track, to just let myself go to that space within myself and see that everything really is perfect. It's just my perceptions, it's just my feelings that are out of whack. And I guess that's, I'm going to work on it. I don't know how successful I'll be, but I'll keep trying because I have to. It's so important because I'm wearing myself down with this stuff, and it doesn't have to be that way. I know that things will change, and they're only going to change when everybody changes their perceptions. As long as we're all feeding this monster, the monster will continue to rule. When we stop feeding the monster will die of starvation. And that's one of my jobs. And maybe that's my meme. I'm complete.
Thank you, Carrie. I would say, first, thank you, Carrie, Barb. I would say that because I'm most concerned, the highest thing on my change list was about spiritual practice. So there were times where I would get up early and go and read. And it was always something that was enhancing my spiritual development. And I wouldn't necessarily, sit there and meditate. Occasionally I did, or I'd listen to a guided meditation. Much better off with a guided meditation. But if I could, and I've been reading a wonderful, wonderful series of books, which has been giving me a lot of good perspective on what is happening on this planet at this time and what we can do about it. And so that's where I'm not as bogged down. I know Carrie and I exchange a lot of stuff about, what's happening politically, but I can keep a different perspective on what's going, so it doesn't take me down. But I think that I probably, if there's one thing I could change, is develop that muscle, that discipline to say, okay, I've tried it different ways. One time I told Bob, you're not allowed to talk to me before noon, because that's my time. From whenever I get up till noon. And that just didn't work really good. So, but he's always very cooperative, whatever harebrained idea I come up with. So I would say, whether that's to his benefit or not sometimes. But what I would say is, did you hit that was easy button? But I would say that would be it. The one small step would be to say, okay, I'm getting up and I'm not worrying about, maybe I have to get up earlier. See, I'm equivocating right there. I'm not being firm about it. Maybe I have to get up earlier so that, we're part-time caregivers for his mom. You don't know when she's going to get up, or, when she needs to be fed, or if she's going to fall, or all those kinds of things. So there are some other determinants, or when the dog wants to be fed, or when, blah, 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 blah. So I guess the one small step I could take is just to say, I'm going to dedicate, start with at least a half hour where it's just for me and my inner work on a daily basis without any interaction with others. So I think I'm complete there.
Can I add something? I made a huge change in my life one time by repeating a mantra. And no matter what I was doing, it was going in my head. I had a job, I was working, I was doing my work, but it was still running in my head. And it really shifted me. And I'm thinking, no matter what you're doing, whether you're taking care of mom or feeding the dog or whatever else you have to do, you could run a prayer, you could run a mantra, you could run a poem that holds your spiritual, perspective for that day. And I think that, that could help, because that way it wouldn't matter what you were doing. You could still be doing your spiritual practice. Just a thought.
That's a great thought. Thank you.
That's good.
All of this has been wonderful. These are some, they're all important because they're all what you've identified is not working for you. It needs to change. It's not whether they're big or small. It's not whether you can turn it in overnight, or whether it's something that you, quote, have been, past tense, working on for years. So during this next week, please focus on building your new track with your thoughts and your actions. So you've declared those, each of you have declared something that you want to work on. So laying a new neural pathway to replace the old one can take as much as 21 days, but you can make a lot of progress in a week. And be sure and share your progress or talk about this some more when you're talking with your buddy this week. I'm talking with your buddy for the last time.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'll never talk to him again, I'm sure. So,
but we got 2 other buddies to get to know.
2 other buddies to get to know. So really, really a very, very important agreement, and the one that's all about choice. So I'm going to put the music on for just a couple of minutes. Why don't you got your journal out there now? Why don't you just journal whatever you'd like to for a couple of minutes, and again focus on the question of what will practicing this agreement every day, how will that bring greater inner peace into my life? How will practicing this agreement, whether it's the specifics you just talked about or generally, bring greater inner peace into my life?
You're still muted, Bob.
Everybody but me. Everybody's in overtime on the journal. That's wonderful. So there's, is there anything from that journaling that you just feel busting at the seams that you need to share about how practicing this agreement can bring greater inner peace to your life?
I think it's the perfect time of year for me to get up earlier because I'm just looking out the window as it's outside my computer is a big window and it's, you know, everything's starting to like pop up, and we'll just be good. I'll leave the curtains open in the morning.
Wonderful, wonderful. Does it face east?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Well, let's see. So assignments for this week. Things are a little bit different now because we're going to be doing a little shifting. But the first thing is to build new neural pathways. And so this discussion we've been having about really dedicating your time to the, I'm not going to say the word easy. Yeah, I will.
That was easy.
The easy first step of that which is not working for you, and allow the other steps of that to follow behind. The second thing, of course, is to connect with your buddy and to talk about this specifically, about and inviting them, if you need that, to support you in developing these new pathways. Of course, I appreciate you submitting the insight forms after you've had a chance to check with your buddy. And something that's new and different that I haven't mentioned before about this week, and that is that when I send you the email either tonight or tomorrow morning with the playback link and the reminders, I'm also going to ask you to fill out, in addition to the insight form that you and your buddy, one of the two of you, submit to me, I'm going to also have a link to a feedback form. And this feedback form, we're going to do this at the end of each of the 3 pillars: truth, acceptance, and gratitude. So there'll be a feedback form link, and I will not get that. Marion Head is going to get that, because a part of my accreditation is to do this practicum. This is the first time, as you all know, the first time I'm doing this 12-week course. And so I'm not even sure of all the questions that are in there, to tell you the truth. This will go back directly to her to give her feedback about how things have been going with me as a facilitator for the first 4 sessions. And then what she'll do is she'll consolidate all that anonymously and share that with me, so that I'll have benefit of your input. So that's part of the ritual. So, and then lastly, of course, is to read the next chapter and complete the exercises at the end of that chapter. Yeah. So what will we be focusing on next week? Oh, well, first off, are there any questions about the assignment?
So do we all fill out the feedback form then?
Good question. Yes, each of you will fill out the feedback form.
Okay.
So let's see. Any other questions about the buddy thing?
Pam, is 8:30 good for you tomorrow night?
Yeah. Are we gonna? We keep the same buddy for this time? I thought he was changing it.
So this will be your 4th gathering. You'll have the same buddy for this time, and you'll start with a new buddy starting next week.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But wait a second. Oh, whoa. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You have only met 3 times so far. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's perfect. Thank you for clarifying. And let's see. So yeah, do the chapter, yada, 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 and all of that. And then, so no other questions about that?
So basically, we have 2 forms to fill out this week:
Correct.
the feedback form and the
Insight form.
insight form.
Right. There's only one insight form is coming from each pair of you, but the
right.
feedback form is from each person directly to Marion. And it'll be the same type of a form. It'll just be a hot link for you to hit out of the email I'll be sending you. Fill it out, hit submit, it's gone.
Okay.
Do we fill out the feedback form together, or do we do it all by ourselves?
You do it by yourself. But it's really about what you're experiencing personally, and feedback from me as a facilitator.
So there'll be an extra link to that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And
And
we
if you
can
have,
do that after we've had our meeting or whatever.
you can do that immediately. You can do it whenever you want to. Okay.
Well, whenever we get it.
Yeah, when
We
you
haven't
get
gotten
it.
it yet.
I usually will send out the email this evening as soon as the playback downloads, and we get it on YouTube and get it unlisted. So tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay.
You know, unless there's any other surprises in my evening, ice cream, cake, anything like that, that distract me, it might be tomorrow morning.
I
Dancing
hope
girls.
Dancing girls. Dancing
Or
girls.
dancing girl.
Dancing girl.
Yeah, your mother and me put on a floor show.
That's an image that I will do my best to get out of my mind. So let's anchor this agreement. Let's anchor this
Sorry about
agreement as we've done with all the others. And really, it's a two-part agreement this time, because it's to agree to keep what's working, doing what's working, and to change what doesn't. So we need a pump on this side for half of it and a pump on this side. So ready on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I agree to keep what
Doing what
what
works.
works. Yes. And change what doesn't. Yes. Yes.
Oh, well.
We won't make the precision team.
Won't make the precision team. Thank you, everybody. I can't think of a better way to have spent my birthday than with you all.
Happy birthday.
Oh,
Thank you.
happy birthday.
Love you all. Talk to you later.
Love you too.
Love you, dear.
Bye.